Hey y'all, and welcome back to Our Road Less Traveled.
Today we're in the middle of Wisconsin waiting on the least Wisconsin thing I can think of, which is Chinese food. And it's about to rain, so we got to get through this. But speaking of rain, we got a story to tell you from
South Dakota.
South Dakota, not North Dakota.
Where the weather went from really good to really bad to worse.
Yeah, so we were in the Slingshot and we're going through Custer Park in South Dakota and just tootling along, which those things are awesome by the way.
Oh, we had a blast riding that thing.
Had a blast. So anyway, we're going through the park and Maria says, I think it's raining. I was like, no, maybe one of the bison just spit or something. So we get a little bit further down the road and it starts to rain. Well, I'm thinking, hell, we'll just speed up a little bit. We'll get the rain to go over us. And about 200 yards down the road, it started hailing. Now, y'all, I put up a lot of stuff, have a pretty high pain tolerance.
Slingshot barely has a windshield, let alone a roof. Like it was
Son,
like
that hurt.
wheels.
That hurt. It was small hail. I mean, it was about half the size of an English pea, but it hurt.
It hurt bad.
Then we realized, you know, in South Dakota you don't have to wear helmets. We won't wear helmets, but they gave us helmets. Then we realized that the helmets we could have put on to keep from getting hit in the head and the noggin were in the seat behind us. So
anyway, our ride on the Slingshot was freaking awesome. We went through the Needles Highway.
Yes.
We saw a stormtrooper.
yes,
We saw a student driver driving a
big old
Trailways
bus.
going through the needle, the eye of the needle.
And for y'all, the eye of the needle is they basically cut an 8-foot 1-inch wide gap and maybe 12 feet 1 inch tall square through this rock. And when you go through, you and a fly can't go through at the same time. It's that tight.
Yeah, it was so tight. And then the ride through Custer was eventful, as we said.
It was, now, it didn't hail the whole time. It was only
Like the last 10-15 minutes.
I don't even think it was that long.
It seemed like a long time. Anyway.
Maybe 5 minutes. It was.
We were soaked to the bone.
Yeah, to the bone.
Soaked. We looked like 2 drowned rats.
It was pretty bad.
And of course the audio went out on the GoPro and didn't catch me, but I'll just give you a little preview of what that sounded like.
That's about what it went like. Scared the doodle.
Oh no! She's jumping out the window.
Scared the
Mom,
doodle.
Are you okay, Mom?
She's like, are you getting hailed on again?
That was our last day in Custer, South Dakota. So after that, we left. And
Hey, another tip: when you rent the Slingshot, your pass into Custer is free. It's included.
right, it is.
That was our last day in Custer. We rented the Slingshot, had a blast on it. If we were to buy a toy hauler, we would probably buy one of those. Leaving South Dakota was uneventful except for the Canadian
Wildfires.
Wildfires
Yeah.
were blowing smoke all the way down into South Dakota, and it was really, really bad. Really feel bad for you guys up in Canada.
Yes. And okay, so our drive through North Dakota was pretty uneventful too. The most exciting thing that happened to us was we were attacked by grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Like literally, I was having like PTSD from the hail experience, but it was grasshoppers. I looked up and there's grasshoppers they're in the bed of the truck, on the hood.
Yeah, I wish we could have caught it because we went through the Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. The weather was so amazing, I rolled the windows down. Well, a grasshopper got in the truck, unbeknownst to us. So we're driving down the interstate going back to where we stayed.
Oh yeah. And the same reaction for hail is the same for grasshoppers in the truck.
Maria saw it on the side bolster there, and
I was screaming again.
I thought the devil had gotten in the truck with us.
It was a devil. Those things are mean.
So I don't know what North Dakota's slogan is. You know, Florida's the Sunshine State. You know, Texas is, don't mess with us, we're Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually it. That's what it ought to be. North Dakota.
Bigger in Texas.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Alabama's sweet home, Alabama. North Dakota ought to be the land of the grasshoppers. I have never seen so many freaking grasshoppers, and they just jump right across the road. They look like flying fish. They're big,
They
too.
do. They fly. It's so creepy. We saw tons of hay being baled and
just everywhere you look, there's just rolled up bales of hay. I've never seen so much hay in my life.
They must be getting ready for winter or something already.
They're doing something. I assure you, North Dakota's not going to run out of baled hay or grasshoppers.
That's true, yeah. They also have plenty of
The prairie dogs.
prairie dogs. We saw hundreds of those things.
Yeah, they've got an abundance of those as well. Stella wanted to get them real bad.
Yeah. What is that, Stella? That's the first time she'd ever seen one, and she was super excited to go chase them. And they make this chirping noise. She was intrigued.
She really thought that chirping noise was an invite to come play with them.
Yes, she would have had a blast, but she would have probably run all the way to South Dakota.
Yeah.
In addition to the little gopher guys, we saw a couple of bison. Not as many as we saw in Custer, but
We saw some coal that was on fire. Although it didn't look like it was on fire, it wasn't smoking, but they have signs up saying, "Don't call us, we know it's on fire."
Coal vein fire or something.
All in all, Theodore Roosevelt National Park, beautiful park, very well maintained. The roads are nice. It's divided into the north and south. We did the southern side, is that right?
I think so.
We did not go to the north because it was 50 miles off the interstate. Cute little town that we went through to get to it, and once we do all the other parks, I'd go back to it, but not until we do all the other parks.
All right. And then from North Dakota, we drove through Minnesota. And in Minnesota, when Clay was doing one of his walk-arounds, he found a trim issue and had to fix that. What you doing?
Our thing came loose.
Did you see that flopping around, or did you just see it when you go down?
No, just notice it when we...
I guess that's one good thing about stopping every so often. You find stuff like this.
This under piece right here, all it does is snap on that.
Oh, well, that's good.
So what I did was I put some of that silicone adhesive on it. Hopefully, I put silicone on the screws, put that back in there to hold them in place so they don't vibrate out. And then I put some silicone up underneath this bead right here. And then I'll just have to screw that in once we get to wherever we're going. But this is why you get out and you do a walk around. Stuff happens. I don't know if y'all know it, but the front caps of fifth wheels, they have that bead that goes around them. It's just a trim piece to attach the cap to the cover. Well, the left side of ours, the driver's side of ours, the screws have been coming out of it. So it happened a few times ago, and I just powered them back up in there with the drill. And I took a little bit of silicone adhesive, dipped the screws in it, put it back in, ran it up, and it's fine here in Wisconsin.
Hadn't had any problems since.
No problem.
We spent the night in Minnesota. We checked a couple more states off our list. That leaves us to where we are now, which is Wisconsin.
Love Wisconsin. If you're from Wisconsin, buddy, comment on here, because so far we love Wisconsin.
This is Lake Superior behind us, and it is beautiful.
We have now seen all the Great Lakes.
Except one.
Except Lake Erie. This is the cleanest of all the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and the biggest.
And the biggest. How many?
I don't remember. I'll put the information up on the screen.
It has a depth of 13,000 feet. The average is like 400 and something, 500.
But we saw people swimming in it yesterday.
Yeah, these
and
people
we looked
are
up
crazy.
what the temperature is normally, and what was it? Like
68 is the most that it
warmest
gets to.
that it gets, and that's in August, and it's July still. So
yeah, it's
these people.
This water right now I think is 58 degrees.
Woo!
And they're in nothing but
Bacon
swim
suits.
trunks and all up in it. I mean, so here's my theory. If you have an aggressive personality and you tend to get into trouble in your life, there's two groups of people you don't want to mess with. One, don't screw with anybody from Denver. They're so high in elevation that if you're not from Denver, you're going to pass out after 2 seconds of fighting with them. Don't mess with people from Colorado. Two, don't mess with nobody from Wisconsin. If they can get in that cold of water, they're already crazy. So just leave them alone.
Have some endurance.
Yeah.
Oh, what was your first impression of coming into Wisconsin? Do you have any thoughts?
Amsoil. When we came through I don't know what little town it was. Right on the edge of Wisconsin, I see like the holy grail of Amsoil off to the left, and I so badly wanted to pull off and go visit it, but we were going the wrong way, and I didn't think Maria cared that much about oil. So
what I noticed first thing was all these little road signs that had four-wheelers, but they didn't have wheels. What's that about?
Yeah, so in the South, we ride things with wheels up here.
They ride things with skis on them.
Yeah.
So you see a sign like every mile or so that just has a little snowmobile on it, and that's just, to me, mind-blowing.
I guess they tootle around on ice machines.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's a Zamboni.
Yeah, supposedly this lake gets like 60% frozen in the winter, which is mind-blowing on its own. So that wraps up this week's video, and we will see you next week on our Road Less Traveled.
Subscribe, we're going to get Chinese food.